One day you'll regret not the mistakes, but the patience. There is one question that will catch up with you someday, not in your youth, not in the heat of the moment, but on a quiet evening when no one is around, when you're sitting alone and looking out the window. And this question doesn't come as a shout, it comes as a whisper, soft, almost tender, but it turns you cold inside. Why did I endure this for so long? Not, why did I make that mistake? No. Not, why did I trust them? No. But exactly this. Why did I tolerate it for so long? Why did I stay where I wasn't wanted? Why did I hold on to hands that had long since let go? Why did I pour my soul into a place that had long since become empty? This question is one of the most painful a person can ask themselves, because it's not about someone else's fault. It's about your own choices, about the fact that you saw everything and stayed anyway. You felt it and stayed silent anyway. You knew and kept hoping anyway. Today, I want to talk about this, honestly, without pretense, without cheap comfort like everything will be okay. Because sometimes what's needed isn't comfort, it's truth. The truth we spend years hiding from ourselves. Stay. This matters. Why we tolerate those who don't value us. Let's start with the most important question. Why? Why do intelligent, sensitive, deep people spend years beside those who don't even notice them? Why do we keep giving to those who stopped giving back long ago? The answer is uncomfortable. Get ready. Because we confuse pain with love. That sounds harsh, but it's true. From childhood, many of us absorbed one dangerous program. If someone causes you pain, they must matter. If you think about them constantly, that must be love. If you're afraid to lose them, hold tighter. But that's not love. That's anxious attachment. That's learned helplessness. That's fear. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of being unwanted. Fear that without this person, you'll find yourself in emptiness and won't survive. Look at this honestly. You didn't endure because you loved. You endured because you were afraid. Afraid of being alone. Afraid there wouldn't be anyone new. Afraid you weren't good enough for something better. And that fear, it was inside you long before this person ever entered your life. And now, one more truth. Those who don't value you, they feel it. Not with their mind, with their instincts. They sense that you'll stay, that you'll forgive, that you'll invent better excuses for them than they could ever invent for themselves. And that is precisely why they don't change. Why change when everything suits them fine? Why try harder when you're not going anywhere? Your patience didn't make you a saint. It made you convenient. What happens to a person who isn't valued? There is a phenomenon. It's called the slow fade. This is when a person isn't destroyed all at once. They're destroyed a little at a time, every day by degrees. Once they didn't notice you, no big deal. Once they didn't say thank you, it happens. Once they talked over your words, dismissed your feelings, took your efforts for granted. Well, people get tired. But it keeps happening, day after day, month after month, year after year. And here is what happens to you inside. First, you stop talking about your desires. Why bother? No one listens anyway. They'll do it their way regardless. Better to stay quiet. Better to agree. Better not to start that conversation that will end with you somehow being the one at fault. Then you stop feeling your own needs. This is more frightening. You don't just go silent about them. You begin convincing yourself they don't exist, that you need nothing, that you're easy to please, that you're not like everyone else. You don't need tenderness. You don't need care. You don't need to be noticed. You're strong, after all. And then the most devastating thing happens. You stop believing you deserve anything better. This is the moment a person truly loses themselves. Not when they're betrayed, but when they agree that betrayal is normal. When they start to believe that indifference is just what relationships look like, that pain is intimacy, that this is how all normal people live. And so you live, for years, beside a person who stopped seeing you as a person long ago, only as a function, convenient, predictable, always ready to give, forgive, stay. And inside you, something very alive quietly dies. Something that once knew how to feel joy. Something that knew how to dream. Something that believed, I am worthy of a love that doesn't cause pain. The cost of the years you spent. Let's talk about time, about what we don't like to count. How many years did you give to this person or these people? 1, 3, 5, 10? What happened in those years? How many times did you put your dreams on hold because now isn't the right time? How many opportunities did you miss because all your attention, all your energy, all your thoughts were going there and to those relationships that were draining you? How many people walked past you? People who might have loved differently, who would have noticed you, valued you, been there for you, truly. But you were busy. You were busy trying to earn the attention of someone who had deep down long since decided you weren't all that important. And then, one day you look back and you see those years and you think not about what you did wrong, but about how much you never did, how much you never said, how much you never tried, how many times you wouldn't let yourself be happy because you were too busy trying to hold on to someone to whom your happiness didn't matter. That is the true cost. Not the betrayal, not the pain of the breakup, but those years quietly slipping through your fingers. Those years you could have lived differently, brighter, more honestly, closer to yourself. Time is the only thing you cannot get back. Money can be earned again. Health can be restored. New relationships can be built. But those specific years, they're gone forever. And the realization of that is one of the heaviest things a person ever has to face. Why it's so hard to leave. Someone reading this is thinking, you're right, but I can't leave. I've tried and I couldn't. I hear you and I don't judge you. Because leaving someone who doesn't value you is not simply a decision. It's not a matter of willpower. It's not just want it badly enough. It's deep inner work. Work with the wounds that existed before this person ever arrived. Why is it so hard to leave? First, hope. Human hope is a remarkable and cruel thing. It knows how to cling to the smallest scraps. One good day after 30 bad ones, one tender word after a month of coldness, one moment of closeness after 6 months of distance. And you think, see, they're capable of it, so things aren't that bad. Just wait a little longer. But that's not closeness. Those are crumbs, and you deserve a full table. Second, sunk costs. Psychologists call this the sunk cost trap. The more you've invested in something, time, energy, emotion, years of your life, the harder it is to walk away. Because it seems like leaving now means all of it was for nothing. All those years for nothing. All that pain for nothing. But understand one thing, the past will not change because you stay another year. Those years won't come back, but you have now and you have a future, and only you decide what to do with them. Third, the fear of emptiness. When someone has been in your life for a long time, even if they were bad for you, even if they caused pain, their absence feels like a physical hole. Your body grew used to their presence, their voice, their scent, their rhythm, and when it's gone, it feels like you're dying. But it's not death, it's a detox. It's your soul finally freeing itself from poison. And yes, it hurts, but it's the pain of healing, not the pain of destruction. What to do, an honest guide. Enough diagnosis, let's talk about what to do. Step 1, stop explaining their behavior better than they ever could. You know the game. He's just tired. She just doesn't know how to express her feelings. He had a complicated past. She doesn't do it on purpose. That's just how she is. Stop. An adult person is responsible for their own behavior. Full stop. Their past may explain them, but it does not excuse them. Your job is not to be their therapist, not to be their mother, not to be the one who endlessly finds their justifications. Your job is to see their actions for what they are. They don't write, you're not a priority. They don't notice your efforts, those efforts aren't needed. They say the words but don't back them with actions, the words are empty. Believe actions, only them. Step 2, reclaim yourself. Do you remember who you were before them? What brought you joy? What set you alight? What were your dreams, yours alone, not shared ones? Start remembering, slowly, gently. It may hurt because you'll discover how much of yourself you gave away, but it's necessary because you cannot build a new life on the foundation of someone else's expectations, only your own. Sign up for that course, return to that hobby, call that friend you lost touch with, go where you've long wanted to go. Start. Small, but start. Step 3, set boundaries and hold them, not for their sake, for yours. A boundary is not a punishment for another person. It is the protection of your own soul. It is your right to say, this is not okay to do to me. Not because you're angry, but because you respect yourself. And here is what matters. A boundary without consequences is just a request. If you say this isn't okay, but when it happens again you stay, you're not setting a boundary, you're pleading, and you're not being heard because they know you'll stay. A boundary only works when action stands behind it, even a small one, even a frightening one. Step 4, allow yourself to grieve. Leaving is a loss. Even if the relationship was toxic, it is still a loss. The loss of hope, the loss of the image of the person you wanted them to be, the loss of a version of the future you had imagined. Allow yourself to cry, not get it together, not stop it. Allow it. Grief is not weakness, it is honesty. It is your soul saying goodbye to something that mattered. But then, get up, wash your face, and move forward. Step 5, choose yourself consciously. This is not selfishness, it is a necessity. You cannot love others from an empty place. You cannot give what you don't have. If you spent years giving and receiving nothing, you are depleted, and no new person will fill that emptiness, not until you begin filling yourself. Choosing yourself means saying, my feelings matter. My time has value. My life is not a rough draft. I deserve relationships where I am seen, heard, and valued, not because I'm perfect, but simply because I exist. A letter to the one who hasn't yet made the decision. If you are reading this right now and recognizing yourself, this letter is for you. You are tired, I know. You have tried so many times to get through to them and couldn't. You have hoped so many times and been disappointed. You have told yourself one last time so many times and stayed again. You are not weak. You are not foolish. You are a person who knows how to love. and that is your strength. But you are spending that strength in the wrong place. There are people who know how to receive love, who know how to truly see you, not your usefulness, not your function, you, who will say thank you, not because they feel obligated, but because they feel it, who will notice when you're struggling, who will stay, not because it's convenient for them, but because they want to. These people exist, but you will never meet them while you're holding on to someone who cannot see you. Let go, not for their sake, for yours, for the version of yourself that still remembers what it felt like to be alive, to feel joy, to feel lightness, to wake up in the morning without a weight on your chest. Do you remember that feeling? It is still possible, I promise. Someday, maybe not now, but someday, you will look back and you will see two versions of your life, the one that was and the one that became possible the moment you finally chose yourself. You will see the years of patience and understand they were not wasted. They taught you. They gave you the knowledge of what you do not want. And that too is wisdom, bitter but precious. You will see the moment when you left, or when you said no, or when for the first time you put yourself first. And you will remember how terrifying it was, how your hands were shaking, how it felt like the world was about to collapse. But the world didn't collapse. The world opened up. And you will see everything that became possible after, the people who came into your life, real, warm, alive, mornings without anxiety, evenings without waiting. Will they write? Will they call? Will they come? Laughter, real laughter, not forced. Tears, rare but honest. You will see yourself, full, alive, yourself. Remember one thing. You are not obligated to earn love. You are not obligated to be perfect, convenient, infinitely patient. You are not obligated to prove your right to attention, to tenderness, to being seen. You are already worthy of it, simply because you exist. And if someone beside you doesn't understand that, that is not your problem. That is their loss, their blindness, their limitation. Your task is not to fix them. Your task is not to let them convince you that you are worth less than you truly are. Take care of yourself, value yourself, choose yourself again and again, because at the end of life, we don't regret our mistakes. We regret the years spent in the wrong place with the wrong people. Don't repeat this mistake. You have right now, and that is enough to begin. If this touched you, share it with someone who needs it right now. Sometimes one piece of writing can change a life. Thank you for staying until the end.